Bielewski. Okay. Jennifer Bielewski. She goes by Jen, just in case you want to know that. She is a LYRASIS Technology Services representative, providing information, consulting, and training for LTS products and services. Jennifer joined LYRASIS in 1999 as a preservation microfilm specialist. She's held several positions within LYRASIS Member Services Department, and before her move to LTS, she was a member of the Professional Development team as a Professional Development Librarian, providing instruction in technology, cataloging, and reference. She received her MLIS from Florida State University.
Thank you. Right? Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being at the conference. I love Nicole's talk this morning, and I have like a zillion notes that I have things I want to look up myself, and a lot of it actually had to do with what I'm talking about today with technology solutions in the cloud. She's talked a lot about apps this afternoon, so I'm not really going to talk about apps, but we are going to have a moment to share. So if you've got an app that you really like and you want to talk about it, share it, because it is a technology solution to you, please feel free to do so. So in this session today, what I'm going to do is just talk about some technology solutions that for the most part are free and lots of libraries are using currently to resolve issues in the library or issues for patrons. I also was, of course, looking up where Starkville was. This is my first time being here. Usually when I come to Mississippi, I go to Jackson for the Mississippi Library Commission, so this is my first time. It was very cute. Cute little town actually reminded me where I grew up, which was Rome, Georgia. If you've heard of Berry College, that is where I grew up. And I was looking at lots of different websites about Starkville, and I saw that this was the town's motto, where technology progress meets tradition. And I thought that actually works really well with this whole conference, because we're trying to bring in new ideas of technology to reinvent ourselves. And we are tradition. We are, the holders of information. We're always trying to help patrons get that information. So it is where we are bridging technology to meet with tradition. Just to tell you a little bit about LYRASIS, many of you probably know SoloNet. SoloNet is basically LYRASIS. We have been around for quite some time. SoloNet has since, I believe, the 70s, but we partnered with Telenet, who is the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast Nelanet, and BCR, which is Denver, Nylink, and Alabama. What is that? So we've been around for quite a while, serving libraries, and we have a mission. And our mission is to help libraries be able to create new services for users, also to access information. Am I doing something wrong?
Yeah, I think so. I've come to check it. Maybe that helped.
Much better. Okay. Okay, great. To create new services for libraries, for patrons, to create portals of access to make access much easier than it has been. And we've seen some steps of that with how publishers are starting to let things go a little bit. We've seen a lot about open access. We've also heard a lot of talk about open and openness with access, and we'll continue that conversation in this session too. We also want to help libraries help manage what they're trying to do for their patrons and their students. So how to manage their day-to-day jobs, how to manage their resources, and manage keeping up with what is going on. Earlier this year, LYRASIS did an Ideas and Insights tour. It was basically an online session. It was an all-day session. We had many different topics. One was on publishing. Another one was on, I think, reference and resource sharing. And then one that I was involved in was libraries as a space, and thinking about how libraries are transforming not only the physical space, but their online space and their presence. And I thought this actually goes quite well with technology solutions as well. We have to think kind of outside the box. How can we bring these new technologies in? How can we make use of technologies that are found out there on the web? One of our presenters during that I&I, if you want the recording for that, I can give it to you. Just drop me an email at the end or sometime when you get back, and I'll be happy to send that recording to you. But one of our speakers was from a library district in Colorado, and they're called Anything Libraries. And when they sent me the proposal, and I'm reading all about it, I'm like, well, this is really interesting, Anything Libraries, and they talked about how they're revisioning library space and how they don't use Dewey at all. They use kind of like what Barnes & Noble and Borders use, just kind of, and all their shelves are, I think, 4 feet or lower, and it's very, very casual. And I'm like, well, this is pretty interesting, but I don't know about a non-library. I thought they were a company. And then I was like, well, let me make sure, because I really like, their topic, and I think it would really fit. Let me just make sure they're not a vendor. So I go to their website. They're a library. They are a county library, and they decided one of the things that they were going to do was change their name and to make it be more like a business, because they were losing a lot of patrons, readers, to places like Barnes & Noble. And so they said, well, what is going on? Why do they not want to come into our library? So they rechanged everything. So I stole this slide from them because we're kind of in this loop. We're trying to get people access, create, manage, and we want to have interaction. We have to have not only our interaction with it, but also information. That all, again, goes around how we're going to use technology to do this. So there are many, many, many online tools. Many are social. Probably by now, everyone has a Facebook page for their library, I would imagine so. Many of you are probably dabbling in Pinterest. How many of you are doing that? Yeah. And many of us are using Google Plus or using at least Google tools. And of course, Twitter has been on the scene for a while. We're using these tools many different ways. Do any of you have a unique way that you're using any of these social networks that you want to share? I actually know of a library who tweets every book that comes back in the book drop. And I'm like, this is fascinating. Who has the time to do this? But actually, I think she uses TLC or Cersei, one of the bigger ILS systems, and she got them to pull a report every hour of the books that are returned, and it's fed into her Twitter feed. So she's not actually sitting there tweeting. But just from her doing that, their circulation stats have gone up drastically. She says they're getting people calling or retweeting. They didn't know that they didn't have certain materials in the library, so when they see it on the Twitter feed, they go, oh, I didn't know you had a collection of that, or I didn't know you had this sort of resource or this sort of item. So it's really opened up her collection. So that's one way you can use social media. This is a page, many of you might know her. She's at the State Library of Louisiana, Angela Journey, and she is their youth coordinator. And she loves Pinterest. This is just a couple of her pages that she's created on Pinterest, her boards. And this one is on open source technology, free software, and you can just see some of the pins that she's created. This is the New York Public Library. New York Public Library, if you're ever needing ideas, they always seem to have them. So this is just a shot of their Pinterest page, what New York Public Library is reading, picture of the day. They're always doing, like I said, really cool things with social networking. This is another slide from the Anything Libraries. They thought when they were recreating their library, rebranding what they're doing, they thought about, sure, social tools, we can use them, but there's going to be some other new things that we have to think about. And so they started thinking about disruptions. And this kind of goes back into Nicole's talk about how are we going to rethink what we do and what we offer and who we are. And we might start with, well, why do we have to do this? And it's because of disruption. So yeah, we do have to think about disruptions, but also when these things happen, we're thinking about the community and connections and ideas and experience. And then we have to think about, well, how can we be out of the box, use our creativity and expression, and with our openness, how to open doors and have unlimited imagination, and it sparks and fuels many other opportunities. Okay, I do want to talk about Google tools. Many of you probably already use a lot of Google tools. I know Docs to manage our statistics. A lot of us actually have been doing that. But Google has a lot of new things coming forward on the scene. One is the Google Nexus. It's their answer to the iPad, so it's going to be very curious to see how that takes off. It is much smaller than the iPad. It's a little bit, from what I've seen, it looks to be a little bit bigger than the iPhone. It's a little bit bigger. But it's supposed to be their answer to the iPad. So we'll just see what happens. The saddest thing, again, disruptions sometimes have to make us think, oh no, I've been doing this for so long, it's been so great to have this tool, and now it's going away. This iGoogle is going away, and I love iGoogle. How many of you used iGoogle? Okay. I'm very sad it's going away. But what it was, basically, it's your personal homepage for Google. You know when you go to Google now, it's just a search box? Well, if you go to igoogle.com, you can put in what you want to see when you go to Google. So I have RSS feeds. I'm the technology instructor at LYRASIS, so I have things from like Wired, from NPR, their technology. I have all those feeds going in. I also have some blogs I follow. We'll talk about them in a little bit. But Zotero, Jeremy Puckett from Georgia State University, he is like the Zotero god. He's written many books about Zotero. He just really knows how to use it, and he's a reference librarian, so I follow his blog. So his blog feed is on my iGoogle. There's some other cool things you can do with iGoogle. You can create custom searches, and what it is, if you go to, let's say you're a health resources librarian, and there are some free search engines you use all the time. You might use the Bio Clinic, you might use WebMD, maybe Wikipedia, some other health resources. Instead of going to each of those pages and searching, if you do Google custom search, you make one search box and it searches all those sites. So there's some really cool things going on with iGoogle. However, it's dying, I think, in November of next year. So we're all very sad, but Google's saying they're going to do things like Google Play to kind of replace some of the functionality in iGoogle. But again, it's a disruption, so we have to rethink how we're going to use technology to do what we used to do. So, but even though iGoogle's going away, there's some really cool things going on. Google Play is for it's your source of entertainment. It's kind of like their version of, even though they own YouTube, it's a smaller subset of YouTube, but it's customized for you. So if you've got magazines you want to read, if you've got all these other RSS feeds that you read, you put it on Google Play and you set up your account. You can look at videos and do any sort of entertainment that way. Actually, when I was walking by, I see that there is a library talking about Google Hangout, and think about forums, and think about things like Blackboard, where you have forums and communities, discussion boards, and things like that. And that's what Hangout is. You get a set of similar people with interests. Maybe it's for a book club or perhaps students, and it's where they can comment, respond, you can post things, and hang out. You can post assignments and things like that too if you want to treat it that way. Google Drive is their answer to Dropbox. How many of you use Dropbox? Yeah, I love Dropbox. It's just Google's response to it. So it acts pretty much the same way, except it's through the power of Google. Google Now is coming out. I don't think it's out yet. It is their answer to Siri, and it's basically you can voice a search term, very similar to what Nicole was saying earlier about Merriam-Webster. So when you see the Samuel L. Jackson commercials, where he's like, how do you make, I don't remember what he's making, how do you make a certain dinner? You can now do it with Google, and it only works on, I think it's only going to work on Nexus, and I think probably the next Android. I don't think it's out yet. But basically, you can say, what's traffic like? And it will map out a new way to go home if there's traffic issues, or what's the weather like, and it's basically their answer to Survey. Compute Engine is their answer to the Amazon S3 product, which is storage. So if you have large-scale projects that you're doing at your library and don't have the server space to host them at your site, you can purchase it through Google Compute Engine, or a lot of libraries right now, they're using Amazon. Mevo also was just bought by Google, and so I'm keeping up with what in the world they're going to do with it. A lot of us use Mevo through for our instant messaging. I don't think it's entirely going away, but it is going to go into Google Tools. To find the latest, greatest Google tools, you can always go to google.com/options just to check out what is going on. And you can also see, they always put like new, so you can see what is coming out. And they'll tell you a little bit about it. And they do it in a really cool form. They do all videos, of course. So if you're not quite understanding what their little write-up is about, you can just click on play video, and it will show you a quick little video like Nicole was showing us today. How many of you still use Yahoo? Oh, I haven't used Yahoo in years because I just don't like the way it looks. I just want a simple interface. I don't like all the crowded stuff. But we need to start paying attention to Yahoo. The reason is Marissa Mayer. She is now the CEO of Yahoo, and she came from Google. And she was their main person who, I can't remember her job title at Google, but she was the main person to make search work. So all the great things that we've seen with search throughout the years with Google, even the last thing with Google No, where you have the Wikipedia entry. If you put in, for instance, Marissa Mayer into Google, you'll see this little entry on the side that's all Wikipedia, like fast facts. She did that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what she's going to do with Yahoo. She's also kicked a lot of people out of Yahoo, and she's hiring her friends from Google. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen here. This is the current Yahoo page now. And you know, there's some really cool things going on. They have this trending now, which is searches. You've got your Yahoo video sites, you've got gold medal. But again, you know, this is what Yahoo wants you to see. And I'm sure what she'll probably do is have more customization, just like Google did. All right, so I do want to talk about some technology solutions that are available. And all of these, and I'm going to add many of the ones that Nicole was mentioning to this site as well. All of these that you're going to see, they're listed on delicious.com/eduserve, so you don't have to write down every URL. You can just go to delicious.com/eduserve. And right now, I just have to fix one thing, so I'll do it tonight when I get home. I'll put in MSU leads, so you can easily find it. You just look at the tag, and click on the tag, and all of them will be listed there. Right now, they're all listed under the class that actually use a lot of these tools, which is 20 Questions Technology Solutions. So if you're interested in seeing more, this is kind of the 1 hour show of the 2 hour class. So if you're interested in the 2 hour class, you can email me about that. I'll send you dates when it's available. Or you can just look at Delicious. There are many free tools. And with a tab work, sometimes you need to download something. Sometimes you just need to work through some open source code. Or you have to figure out, well, how does this Google application work? So a little bit of work. A lot of times it's just watching a video or just reading through a handbook or starting a download. You can figure out how you can use these for your library. I do want to point out Gizmo, Gizmo Freeware. They have this pick of the weeks, and they list this every week, and I think it's really cool. It's always like the newest, freshest thing that's out. Website of the week, finds of the week, Android app, iPhone app, and iPad app. And a lot of them have to center around education. They have a lot of how-to videos as well. And again, that's on Gizmo's Freeware site, which is on Delicious. How do you find these? A lot of times what I do is look at places like Gizmo Freeware. I look at certain blogs. I'm definitely going to look for Nicole's Twitter feed and probably follow her to get some ideas of new apps and things like that. But I look at blogs. Many of you know Marshall Reading from Vanderbilt. He was at Vanderbilt, now he's on his own. He's always talking about new leads in technology, ILS systems and things like that. So I follow It's good to see, well, if it worked for your community, maybe what you're doing will work for mine. Many things are mobile, including us. We can be anywhere. It doesn't matter if we're in this building right now, if we're actually, at home or at our library job. People can find us, mostly through some sort of social networking. So we have many devices, we also have many files, and we have many ways to share. And a lot of us were using Dropbox, but there are some other players on the scene. SugarSync is one, Google Drive, SkyDrive is Microsoft, and then we'll talk about QR codes in just a minute. The only ones that I've used here is actually Dropbox. I just like Dropbox and I like the file system and that you can share this folder but not that folder and all of that. SugarSync apparently is simpler, meaning you can just have like an open, it's just kind of unorganized. That's why I haven't tried it yet because it just seems very unorganized to me. But you basically just put the file up and you don't have to have folders or anything like that. You just can do whatever you want. Google Drive is somewhat new, and I haven't used it yet. SkyDrive is new as well. And all of them are free up to a number of bytes. And then you can buy and purchase more space. I have this QR code up just because a lot of libraries have asked me in the past, well, how do you generate QR codes? Because they see the students using it, you see them all over the place. They even saw it on like Ketchup Bottle last night. QR codes are really easy to generate. They're free. This qrcode.ky.com is an open source site where you just put in a URL and it spits out the QR code. You print it out or take a picture of it, and then you can use it wherever you need to use it. I've also heard of libraries doing scavenger hunts with QR codes, which is a fun little game for people to play. And again, a good way to either tour the library or to show off their collection. This is a snapshot of SkyDrive that I sold off the web. This is the mobile use of it. And again, you can upload pictures, schedule events. This is Microsoft, so of course it works really well with Excel and Word and all that. And you can just upload it to SkyDrive right from your mobile phone. Open source. This is where a lot of us are spending a lot of time with open source. We might not even know we're using open source, but there's a lot of tools that we are using that are open source. Of course, Firefox is probably the most popular one that people know as open source. And then there's some other things, OpenOffice, for example. I do want to point out that I have handouts at the bottom of the stairs on one thing that is listed here, and that is the F4L, Phosphor Lid. This is a website that we have created, and there's a handout about it. And basically what it is, it's a free online guide about open source tools and open source software designed for libraries. And this is a one-stop shop, phosphorlid.org, where you can find and play with these open source softwares. And I have a snapshot here. So what we've done is anyone can come to us and say, hey, I built this open source software for libraries, or I built it for education, or whatever it might be. And will you look at it, assess it, and let us know if this is something that will meet the needs of you? And so we've gone ahead and tested a lot of these, and we've put them in different packages. So again, you don't have to think, okay, I need interlibrary loan. Let me search the web for open source interlibrary loan. You can just go to phosphorlid.org and find some resources here. And this is what we have so far, and we're building the community every day. So as libraries or other places come up, other institutions collaboration tools, surveys, citation guides, course reserves, specific guides. I have them listed here, and then I have some of the solutions that I have found to be helpful in my work and others. So tutorials. Maybe we want to build some online tutorials so that our users know, how do I search my OPAC, or how do I search this database? And I have had great success with Jing and Jing Pro, and they're both free. Well, actually, Jing Pro is $14.95 a year. You can do everything with Jing, the regular free version, that you can do with Jing Pro. Jing Pro just makes it a tad bit easier. So let me give you an example of that. What Jing is, it's basically a screen capture software that you download to your computer. And then you have this little sun that's at the top of your computer always. And then you can, make it go away, or you can let it pop up. I just basically keep mine up all the time. It does it. It's really, really tiny, so it really doesn't bother what you're trying to see or interfere. And when I want to record something, like how do I search Wikipedia, for example, all I do is open up Wikipedia, I open up my sun, it tells me to measure out the space that I want, so I can measure maybe the search box, and then I just start searching and hit record, and I can talk. I can talk using a headset. Or if I don't want to talk, I can just go through the motions, mouse clicks. And then I stop, I can preview the recording, and if I like it, then it spits out a file. And that's what regular Jing does. And when it spits out the file, then I can upload it to my website, or I can upload it to YouTube, or anything that will play the video. Jing Pro, which you're paying $14.95 for, is a cute little YouTube button that says, oh, you're done with this file? Awesome, it's on your YouTube channel. And I was like, $14.95, this is easier than me. This is me going around the red tape at LYRASIS. Instead of me going to IT, going, can you please just put this on the website, link here, and do all that? I just stick it on the LYRASIS YouTube channel. They never know. So that's what Jing Pro does. Cam Studio does the same thing. It's a screencast software that you download. It's open source. It's free to use, and you can create tutorials. There is another difference between Jing Pro, and Cam Studio. Jing and Jing Pro are for very, very short tutorials. They have to be under 5 minutes. Cam Studio, it can be any length that you want. So, and that's one reason I use Jing. Usually when I'm creating tutorials, it's something like how do you search our LYRASIS class catalog. So I don't want it to be longer than 5 minutes long. All right, if you're creating websites, many of us were using things like WordPress. Google Sites was around for a little while. That too is going away. But a lot of people have had success with WordPress. Collaboration, many of us are using Google Tools. I have a little plus sign there just to say all sorts of Google Tools. You could use something like Ning, Shareable. I actually wrote that down when Nicole was talking about it, so I want to look at that to see what that will do, and how that might work with collaboration tools. And there's many others. Ning is kind of like a mini website in itself. Ning is of cost. I believe it's $30 a year, but it gives you the full template of a website. So if you don't want to have basically a blank page or a blank WordPress template, you can go to Ning, pay $30 a year, and you can have, this is perfect. I've seen many book clubs do this, or friends in the library do this, because it gives you little tabs. You can have discussion group, forum, schedule, calendar events, whatever it might be, and that's all done on Ning. The other thing about Ning, and it's just ning.com. The other thing about Ning is if you have a Ning website, you can't find it unless you know the URL. So if you really wanted your friends, maybe it's just the board of the directors or your friends group, or just the individuals that are part of the book club to stumble onto the book club page, they have to know about it. So if you want to say this is our Facebook page and this is our Ning page for comments and all of that, you can have that. So a lot of people like that it's kind of closed off like that, and then of course there's some people that don't. I actually like it as closed off. Surveys. You can, of course, use Lime Survey. Lime Survey is just like a traditional survey. Many of you may have used SurveyMonkey before. If you've ever taken a SurveyMonkey is free up to a point. We actually at LYRASIS paid for SurveyMonkey, and it's not expensive. I can't remember how much it is. I want to say it's like $20 a year or something, very low fee as well. And the only reason we do that is because we do so many surveys, and we just do too many of them for the free pass. Lime Survey is open source and it is completely free, and you can create a survey. You can have open questions, you can have select true, false, multiple answers, whatever it might be, and it will spit out a CSV file, and then you could do something really cool, like Nicole was talking about, and I actually blanked out on what it was called. Do you remember the social stats? Do you remember what that was called? Making an image of it? I wrote it down. And I'll add it to Delicious once I take a look at it. Poll Everywhere is actually pretty fun. If you are, I would say if you're using something or you're doing something like a program where you have people in the audience, or if you're teaching a course and you see students have their mobile devices, I would totally put up a Poll Everywhere poll. You can build this poll in seconds, and what they do is they use their device to send you a text message, and you can see live results right away. So it's a fun way to engage your students, especially if they're texting the whole time you're talking. You can kind of distract them and say, hey, I see you're texting. I have a question for you. How many of you use Zotero? Okay, great. Zotero is a citation guide. It is completely open source, and what I love most about Zotero is you can cite and capture anything that is on your computer or the web. So let's say, for instance, you found, a dissertation is kind of just hanging out there. Maybe you found it on Google Scholar or something like that. You can put it in Zotero. You can actually put like a copy of it in Zotero, and it's there until you say go away. Now, Google Scholar could pull it, the professor could pull it, and it's off from the web. But if you've done it in Zotero, it's always going to be there. So that's kind of cool. You don't have to remember the exact URL or anything like that once you've captured it in Zotero. This one is peculiar. This has disappeared on me, but that's why I have a question mark. Reservesdirect.org is where you could work. You could actually set up course reserves through that website, and it was free. And as of yesterday, the web page is no longer there. And I was like, well, what is going on? So I'm not sure what's going on. It's a blank page, but then I know Emory University uses it, and theirs is still up. So I don't know what happened, if something is going on with whoever owns the domain for reservesdirect.org. I'm not sure. That's one of my to-dos on Monday is to call Emory and go, hey, have you looked at your reserves direct link? Because yours is live, but the main page is not. So hopefully maybe they're having a weekend hiccup or something. But it is a really good site where you can set up course reserves. Subject guides, a lot of us unfortunately can't afford live guides. I love live guides, and unfortunately LYRASIS does not let us have live guides. So we use Delicious, and we also use Subjects Plus. And Subjects Plus, you can set up exactly how live guides is done. You can set up your own subject guide. And I actually have a picture of it. And you can do, as you see, subject or course guides, A to Z list of databases that you can list and link. You can have FAQs on your site, staff list. If you have questions, need more help, you can see this person, and suggestion box. And it's open source, so depending on where you're putting this on your page, and you're probably putting it on your main web page, you can do other things like have RSS feeds. You can have your, let's say the professor or your library liaison has a Twitter feed that might have something to do with the subject set, and you can all have that fed into your main web page with Subjects Plus. This LYRASIS.com. They have a whole library of different presentations. Again, even though this is under the creation area, if you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you can snag. Always go to Prezi, go to YouTube, look to see if there's other instructional videos on how to do something, and use those videos. And that way, that will save you time and perhaps even money from buying things like Jing Pro and things like that. If you can reuse someone else's instructional video too. TED Talks, I think there's actually a presentation about it later on today, so I won't talk much about it, but TEDs, they have where you can, like I say, I've used their tutorials now. You can basically take their tutorial and redo parts of it and make it your own. And I'm pretty sure that's this afternoon, but I saw that was on the agenda. So I think a lot of people are getting into this idea of, well, we have YouTube, we have Prezis, we have all these SlideShare. I always go to SlideShare. If there's someone else who's done a presentation on something, let me see what's there and, give them some kudos, again, with the libraries and anything with libraries presentation. So if you don't have to reinvent the wheel, look there and see what you can find. So now we're going to move on to access. Again, we're going to create, access, and manage. Access. A lot of times we want to point people to our OPAC. Check the OPAC first. Don't just check Google. Don't Google first. And even though we say this a million times, that's what patrons are going to do. They're going to go to Google. They're going to go to Wikipedia. And we want them to do our OPAC. LYRASIS is an open source tool built from Virginia Tech, and I love it. The next slide is what it looks like. Basically, LYRASIS over there in the corner, right under the green arrow, it's an add-on that you download. So you download LYRASIS to your computers. It sticks the little LYRASIS on the toolbar, and it automatically opens that where it says tic-tac-moo. You can pretty much put whatever you want. And that keyword right there, that search, goes directly into your OPAC. And even though it says Binghamton University Libraries, let's pretend that's the Google main page. That LYRASIS will always stay on your toolbar. So people can be wherever, in an Internet Movie Database, they can be watching a movie, they can be doing something for their work, and they can just go to that keyword search from the toolbar. The other cool thing, if they're using something like Amazon or Wikipedia, everything that you see here, I'm sure there's a printer, all of these little boxes, this is a Wikipedia reference resource link. All those boxes mean that that library has that. So the student can click on that and it will take them straight to the library's OPAC record for that. So I think that's pretty cool too. And this is SFXUCL. That's just the icon for that library. You can have, whatever icon you want. Bulldog, paw, whatever it might be. The last thing that I heard about LYRASIS, I went and saw, and I can't remember her name right now, one of the main people who programs and came up with the idea at Virginia Tech. The next thing that they're working on, they are creating mini demos on how to search outside the OPAC. So if you have an article in a ProQuest database, how do I use this database? And she said they're limiting it to 2 minutes or less, where it's right next to the search box. So when you go to the OPAC, let's say you're looking at this research date now supports coins. If you clicked on that and went to the OPAC and said ProQuest article, if it doesn't automatically pull up the article, which if you're in the library it should, if you're authenticated at home it will, but if you're not, then it will give you a really quick tutorial how to log into ProQuest, how to search, and how to get this article. And I think that's pretty handy. Again, it's all about access. Going back, many of us are talking about purchasing discovery layers. Am I right in thinking that a lot of Mississippi people have EBSCO? Right. I thought I heard that the other week. Yeah, so a lot of us have EBSCO 360, I believe it's called, right? EBSCO 360.
Discovery.
It's Discovery. That makes sense. Yeah, EBSCO, where you can, not only when someone conducts a search in the OPAC, but it links everything all your databases, even free resources. So a lot of us are looking into discovery layers and setting those up. LYRASIS has our own discovery layer too, where you can have all of your purchase, subscription, databases plus others. So if you want to add TED Talks or Wikipedia or whatever it might be, we can build those in as well. There are some free ones out there. ViewFind, Blacklight, SoPack. They are free delivery layers that you can add onto your website or to your OPAC. They are all open source, which means there's a little bit of love that you have to put into them to make them work properly, but they are out there. BiblioCommons as well is out there, and I think it's a pretty cool discovery layer, and it actually acts more like a complete MLIS. And in fact, the New York Public Library, they use BiblioCommons for their OPAC. Portable apps. This probably is something that will eventually disappear or become disruptive, and we have to think of something else to use. Portable apps is basically you can take your app with you, which nowadays people who are building apps are thinking about, oh, you can use it on any device. It doesn't matter if you have your iPhone, your iPad, or your desktop computer. You'll be able to take your app information with you. So that's what Portable Apps does right now. VC, how many of you use Skype? How many of you have a love-hate relationship with Skype? Yeah. My Skype experience is fantastic, except when I'm talking with my direct manager in Ohio. Every time he calls, it fails. But I can talk all day long, and not that I do, all day long to my friend in Switzerland. I can talk to my mom, I can talk to my friends, I can talk to my coworker, and I can talk to my other coworker who is 10 miles away from my other coworker in Ohio. But every time my boss calls, Skype fails. And I'm like, oh. So I said, hey, Skype isn't working for me or you. Let's try VC. VC is an alternative to Skype. It does the exact same thing. And so far, it hasn't dropped any of my calls. And I mean, it just works exactly like Skype. It works, it has a video component, it has a chat component. You can add your contacts just like you add them in Skype. And it just works. I have heard and read that if you're running both of them at the same time, it will interfere with each other. So if you're running VC and someone calls you on Skype, it might, start giving you issues with the video. I haven't experienced that yet. I have my Skype and VC running all the time. So when my boss calls from Ohio, he pops up on VC. When my other colleagues call, they pop up on Skype because and it's just however you want to call them. So when I want to call my boss, I go to VC and I say call from VC. So, and we saw this already. This is LiveX. Manage. We have just a few more moments. So I do want to talk about, again, we're on this creation, access, and manage. How do I get this question all the time when I teach my students at LYRASIS. How do I manage my schedules? Whether it's a scheduling reference or scheduling a meeting or an event. And if you don't have an Outlook, this is almost impossible. Of course, you can use something like Google Calendar, but a lot of my students and I have had success with Doodle. In fact, I am on the Evergreen MLIS Open Source Conference Committee, and that's all across the world, basically, and we use Doodle to meet. Is this a good time for you? And someone in the Netherlands can say yay or nay, or I can say Georgia yay or nay, and it works really great. It will also block out time, so if other people have said no, you can already see at a glance, oh, that time's grayed out, that won't be good for anybody. Statistics. This is another one that I have to check on. Live stats. How many of you are using live stats? Okay, do they still work?
Or about that?
Awesome. Little Bird told me that they weren't working, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't have to deal with stats, so I don't know if she did something or clicked wrong or whatever. And then I was just looking online, and I couldn't find anything. So good, they're still still working. A lot of libraries are using live stats because they are built for the types of stats that we are looking for. And it's free. Anyone can go in and create an account and set those up. You can use Google Docs. I actually presented right before another lady last year at the LSU Lewis meeting, and she had a whole great presentation on how she's using Google Docs, their version of Excel, and Calendar to use statistics, and it worked really well for her library. For online exhibits, let's say you have a digital collection and you want to have a collection of those and expose it on your website. A lot of people are using Omeka for it's free, open source. And then of course we talked about citations already, where you can use Zotero, Evernote, which is available on your phone and on the web, and delicious. Buffy Hamilton, if you all know her, she's a mover and shaker. She has a fantastic class that we try to offer through LYRASIS a couple times a year, and it's her going through how to use Evernote. So if you're interested in that, and then you can send me an email. I do have down below here 2 handouts. One is green, which has a list of many of our classes that you can take a look at, and then the decision open source tools. And I also want to invite all of you. Most Mississippi libraries are members of LYRASIS, and we have, again, this kind of rolls into what Nicole was talking about. Our annual meeting, which is online, is November 1st, and our keynote speaker is David Lankeys, who Nicole was quoting this morning. So if you want to see him in action via the web, please do. And then we have a few minutes, so I wanted to open this question out to the room. What are you using? Which technology tools have you seen or heard about? And I actually saw Joe Murphy speak last week, and his talk was all about new apps, what's going on in the world of e-publishing, and one of his opening statements was, let's leave limits in thinking. Sometimes that's where we get bogged down, so let's think about the sky and where we can go. So others? Yes?
I experimented a little bit with online video creation tools and had a lot of fun with Extra Normal. I think it's going to come up this afternoon.
Yeah.
But it's free, and I was able to make a couple cartoons to introduce some presentations, and it went very well.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, it does anime, right? Animations.
Yep, it's animated.
Okay.
And then non-animated is Animoto, A-N-I-M-O-T-O.
Okay.
And you can only make very short videos for free. I can't remember if it's like 3 minutes or 30 seconds, sorry about that. But for a while they had a free educator account, and I used that to draft up something, and then they told me they changed their policy about educator accounts, and I didn't have time to figure out how. But you can make extremely cool things with still images, and they take the images and put them into collages and spin them around, and you can add music. So both of those are very interesting ways to create good-looking video things.
Okay, and the ones that I'm writing down, I will add them to Delicious, so you don't have to remember. So I'll look that up. Since we are talking about video, a lot of times we're looking for still images. Go to Creative Commons, which is on Flickr. Millions and millions and millions of photos out there, and you can use them for your presentations. That's one. For your presentations and for your videos, if you don't have the time or the skill to go snap a bunch of pictures. I also say that to warn you. I didn't go online today because I have like technology funk. I will make anything break, and I have gotten 2 viruses. My IT manager hates me. I've gotten 2 viruses by going to Google Images and click and downloaded. And He was very nice to me the first time it happened because his daughter just had it happen at the house because she was doing a report, clicked on a Google image, and boom. So go to Creative Commons. So far that they're pretty safe. And also, SourceForge, I think it's called. Anyway, it's on my technology. If you go to 20 Questions Technology under Delicious, and again, I'll tag it MSU Leads when I get home. There's a whole bunch of resources for music. So again, if you built a video and you're like, well, this would be great if I had some music, but I don't have time to go find royalty-free music, there's a whole place online you can find that. And it's anything from sound effects to, 10-minute melodies. And some of them are quite cool. Yes.
Well, another source for images, if you like vintage-looking images, is the Library of Congress Prints and Photographs collection.
Yeah.
And you can search by keyword and find some really interesting vintage illustrations.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for that. What else? Yes.
At our university, and recently our university has an emphasis and focus on all the images and website and video everything. We have the tendency to follow the ADA compliance rules.
Oh,
We
okay.
have to have all the images and videos, and if you create, you have to have the disability accessible tool. So I need that kind of tool. If you have anything, you put it in delicious. Because right now the translators, we purchase translators to translate everything in YouTube, and it's not correct. And you hire some workers to translate into scripts, and it costs money.
Right.
So whatever librarians have to create tutorial, everything, we have to have the ADA tools for this. So
I'll
I
look
don't have
at it.
anything.
I'll look it up. I don't have anything right there that I know of, but I'll see what I can find. Because that does bring up a good point. I have a lot of colleagues and friends at Georgia State University, and they're always looking for things like that. They were looking at translating their website, and they didn't want to pay for it. And so my friend was like, okay, I don't know Spanish. And Google Translator doesn't either. So he translated one, I think the admissions page or something. He actually is a Spanish minor, but he just can't. Here's a web page, right, in Spanish. He just doesn't have that skill. So he went to Google Translator. He was like, okay, see what I mean? This is not what you want to say. And they finally went with a company, but yeah, they're paying a lot of money to that. But I will look and see. I have a note for the ADA compliance, see what I can find. Okay, what else? We have about 2 minutes. All right.
You mentioned, I'm sorry, I just got one quick question, that Google Sites is going away, and we had a couple of workshops for a professor here who wanted it's an English course, and they used it to upload papers and then collaborate about those papers. So each student created a site where they could, direct their other students to this link. Will those, or do you know, like if the things that they've already created on sites, will those stay there? Or are they going away with Google Sites?
Mine's still there. Like, I heard this rumor a long time ago. I want to say around Christmas.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, and I've been looking around, here and there, looking to see, Google Sites, what's replacing it. My page is still up. I can still edit it. I can do all sorts of things. So I don't know if they're just not putting any more time into developing more into it, which is probably the case because I can't find any information. I just have heard that it's going away. So I think you'll be fine for a little bit.
Okay.
Google seems to be pretty good at when they get rid of something, they'll replace it.
Right.
So don't delete anything if you can keep things. And it's Google, so they probably will